Here's a tasteful collage of all the characters involved in the side missions for my Arkham Origins sequel, Batman Arkham Bonds. I'm glad people got a kick out of my video laying out the main story for this completely fictional game, and surprisingly, a good chunk of you requested to hear about side missions, so I decided to take one more step toward insanity and slap together my ideas. Including DLC, Arkham Knight had 18 side missions, Arkham City had 12, and Origins had 9. To keep things within reason, Arkham Bonds will have 14 side missions, and within those are 4 categories: Batman exclusives, Robin exclusives, dynamic duo exclusives, and one mission that can be done however the player wants. To keep things fresh, the first section of this video is going to go back and forth between Batman and Robin exclusives, then we'll move on to the dynamic duo missions, before wrapping up with the post-campaign missions, 2 of which I described in my original video, and the other 2 take place in Metropolis. With that said, let's jump right in. Let's kick things off with another side mission I vaguely described in my original video, Batman's alliance with the Penguin. The idea behind this side mission is a bombastic team-up with lesser villains, featuring Humpty Dumpty, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and Killer Moth. There are 3 missions total, each focusing on Batman working alongside these villains in order to bring down Falcone operations throughout Gotham. Batman has the first mission assigned on his map after the initial formation of his alliance with Penguin. From then on, the next mission will be assigned following the completion of the prior one. Also, the player is still able to do these missions even after the alliance dissolves later on in the game, with a line of dialogue here or there changed to justify them. First up, there's Humpty Dumpty, who is this soft-spoken, unintimidating man in workman's overalls with an unfortunate, egg-shaped body. When the player meets him in an alleyway, he informs Batman of their goal as assigned to him by the Penguin. They're to take out one of the more secure Falcone hideouts housing a major supply of arms. Humpty Dumpty isn't a fighter, he won't physically be assaulting the hideout with the player, but he provides Batman with specially assembled explosives to take out safes protecting weapon caches. The player has to sneak inside the hideout, where one room is a stealth situation, and the next is a combat situation. Both have protected weapons caches that need blowing up. Also, when things go combat mode, the Falcones bust out their Intergang weaponry, and Humpty Dumpty assists the player by utilizing reassembled, modified toys, such as RC cars and helicopters. When the mission comes to an end, it's clear Batman doesn't dislike Humpty Dumpty, but he warns him to quit this life of crime while he can, before he has to take him down. Next up, the Tweedles. I want these guys to act like such dickheads. I think them just messing around and viewing all their crimes and violence as a game would work really well with their silly nature, and it would get under Batman's skin. The pair should enjoy taunting Batman over which one of them is which. They should also be cleverer and more maniacal than they initially appear. Their plan to take down a Falcone hideout is for both of them to infiltrate at opposite ends, using a connection they made to one of the higher-ups here. He's my new friend. No, I'm the one he met. Once inside, they'll simply march toward the middle and open up the main garage door for Batman to enter. So that's how it goes down, resulting in a massive battle with Falcone thugs alongside these freaky cousins who are enjoying it a bit too much. In the hideout, Batman gets information on Falcone drug smuggling routes he can share with the GCPD. Once completed, he is clearly disgusted by the Tweedles, but honors his alliance and leaves them behind. Finally, Killer Moth. He's a newer villain in town, acting as a gun for hire. He's obsessed with emulating Batman and making a name for himself, but his lust for notoriety is his greatest weakness. I think it would be fun to have Killer Moth, of all people, acting too cool for school with Batman, pretending to not really be impressed with his reputation, despite Killer Moth's entire shtick being a moth-themed ripoff of Batman. He insists he can take down this Falcone hideout by himself, but Batman insists he come along anyway to make sure Killer Moth stays in line. When the pair arrive at the HQ, Killer Moth makes a huge scene before charging inside, resulting in Falcone thugs rushing out to fight Batman, which separates him from Killer Moth. Once the player is done with that fight, they head inside where they find the Falcones have been brutalized and cocooned up by Killer Moth. Seeing Moth taking things too far, Batman goes to stop him. The level changes into a boss fight against Killer Moth, which takes maybe a bit of inspiration from the Arkham Origins Firefly flight. Instead of fire, it's, you know, sticky moth boy goo. When all is said and done, Batman leaves Killer Moth strung up in his own cocoon for the police to find. The alliance with these criminals is officially over. Maybe this is even how Batman gathers his obligatory congealing weapon of the game. The first Robin exclusive side mission I want to discuss is another one I brought up in my original video, a mission involving Shrike. I thought it would be interesting to use this mission for an introspective look at who Dick Grayson was growing up compared to who he is now, contrasted by his old friend who had a similar journey but has gone down the wrong path. So this all takes place after Robin encounters Shrike for the first time in the main story, where Robin identified him as his childhood friend Boone from the circus, although Boone doesn't know Robin's identity. The mission kicks off when Robin spots a flaming R on a rooftop. He investigates and Shrike gets the drop on him, but the pair don't fight. Shrike has taken a liking to Robin following their first encounter. He respects his abilities. Picture Shrike with a bit of an old-school street gang leader charm, a charisma Dick remembers from their childhood. Shrike tells Robin he isn't here to fight. He heard about a gun smuggling operation nearby, and wants to see if Robin will join him to take it down. Robin asks why Shrike would get involved. He thought he was hired muscle for the Belian embassy. Shrike tells him that's just a contract. He's actually in Gotham on a mission for his master. Robin fishes for more info, but Shrike doesn't bite, instead dropping down to the smuggler's hideout. Robin follows, and the mission plays out with them beating the snot out of some thugs. Robin enjoys the camaraderie, familiarity, and similarity between him and Shrike. When the mission is over, Shrike tells Robin that he did good. They should do this again sometime. Robin agrees. The next mission starts when Robin is signaled by Shrike again. Robin arrives at the Flaming R on another rooftop to find Shrike surveilling a neighboring building, the district attorney's office. Shrike tells Robin that he's aware of a situation going on inside. The DA has been taken hostage, and his captors have disguised themselves as security in an attempt to sneak the DA out of the building. Robin asks how Shrike knows about this, and Shrike responds that his master's intel network must be deeper than the Batman's. The plan is to infiltrate the massive DA office building, quietly take down security, and rescue Harvey Dent. The pair split up, sneaking inside through vents and moving quickly through the building. Every now and then, Robin will silently take down some guards, solve some environmental puzzles, and keep pushing forward. Shrike has assigned Robin to take down security cameras so that Shrike isn't spotted. He's here on official Belian business after all. Robin agrees, but feels something is off. When he goes to the security room, he can see Harvey Dent calmly working at his desk. The situation is not what he's been told. When Robin confronts Shrike over their communicator, Shrike tells him the cameras must have been manipulated. Robin pushes, asking him what's really going on. Shrike goes radio silent. From here, it's a race to get to Harvey Dent first. Robin gets spotted by security, who obviously don't listen to his pleas, so he's gotta fight them off. This actually works in his favor, since the office goes into lockdown knowing there's an intruder. When Robin finally closes in on Dent, he spots Shrike about to assassinate him. Robin tackles Shrike out a window, bringing the pair crashing down on a neighboring rooftop. Shrike damns Robin for ruining his plan, and makes a run for it with the building alarm going off. The final mission begins when Robin uses his detective vision to track Shrike down via his blood trail from cuts he got from the window. This leads Robin to Shrike's small base of operations, where he's held up with a handful of other trained assassins. Robin sneaks in, making his way through the base while listening in. Shrike is patching up his wounds as his subordinates question what happened. It's clear this assassination was his true assignment from his master. It's also clear he was supposed to accomplish this on his own. No one else knows about Robin's involvement. The player finds a perfect way to sabotage the hideout, and sets everything up before popping in to confront the small gathering of ninjas. Robin asks if he can join the pajama party, and Shrike sicks his ninjas on him. The player has themselves a ninja battle. When the player has defeated all the ninjas, Shrike tries to get involved, but Robin activates his sabotage, bringing some debris crashing down around Shrike, and instantly gets the upper hand on him. Feeling used and ashamed, Robin is angry, but he still remembers the friend he used to have. He tells Shrike to leave Gotham and go back to his master. he obviously still has a lot to learn. Also, while I have you here, I just want to remind you that another Robin exclusive mission I mentioned in my original video are data packs. Yes, data packs. These have been left across Gotham by Batman. In order to find these, Robin will have to solve secret puzzles or find secret locations throughout the city. These are essentially an excuse to provide lore drops for the player to teach them more about the current state of Gotham, its history, and Batman's past experiences. In-game, I think this is a fun way for Batman to teach Robin more about the city he's now protecting. Since the story is set in Batman's 4th year of crime fighting, I felt there needed to be a Gotham politics-centric conspiracy, which would introduce a previously unseen matchup of characters: Batman, Gordon, and Harvey Dent. While Dent doesn't feature in the main story, I think this is a good place to flesh him out without making him the center of attention. These three have begun working together in secret, a la the Long Halloween or the Dark Knight, in order to purge Gotham of corruption. Their latest plan involves the Gotham City Council official, Rupert Thorne, who they've been building a case against for some time. Although, each man is aware of the sensitive nature of this alliance and their need for discretion, so each meeting takes place in a sequestered spot on Harvey Dent's rooftop, rather than the GCPD under the Bat Signal. The first mission kicks off when Batman meets up with the other two. It's clear to the player that all three are already well aware of Rupert Thorne's activities. He's a corrupt man with deep criminal connections. If you've never seen Batman the Animated Series, I think a great way to quickly understand Thorne comes from the fandom wiki. There it states Thorne was likely based off of real-life 19th century politician Boss Tweed. So anyway, this secret triumvirate are working against Thorne's latest scheme to influence the upcoming mayoral election. The first mission is for the player to infiltrate where Rupert Thorne and his inner circle frequent, the Tobacconists Club. How is Batman gonna do this? Well, he isn't. Matches Malone is. Two guys out there just got a throbbing fanboiner. For those who don't know, Matches Malone is Batman's go-to undercover personality. He's a master of disguise, and I think it would be really fun to see Matches Malone, if just for one mission in the entire series. So the player arrives at the Tobacconists Club, and Batman changes into his Matches Malone getup, then enters the club, where he's greeted with open arms. The boys in the club love Matches, who is really hamming it up on his way inside. At the back table, Rupert Thorne sits smoking a cigar and playing cards with his closest confidants. When he spots Matches, he immediately calls him over to take a seat. While this game of poker plays out, the player gets to interrogate Thorne using the dialogue feature that I talked about in my original video. Essentially, LA Noire light, but you have to be careful with your questioning or you'll blow your cover. Once Batman gets the information he needs, he folds and tells the boys he needs to call his wife and let her know he'll be home late. Using the information Batman gathered, a lead on where Thorne's bookkeeping records are located, the player travels to Thorne's hideout and plays through a stealth challenge. Batman is victorious and captures images of Thorne's records before leaving. The next level of the mission kicks off when the player returns to the Tobacconists Club. Matches Malone walks through the doors to discover a grisly crime scene. The club has been severely burned, with charred bodies of patrons smoldering on the floor. Batman wonders what could have happened here, but the police charge in and try to capture Matches. The player needs to defeat them without gadgets and make their escape. Back in the Batsuit, the player uses detective vision to follow trace levels of radiation in the air to a destroyed lab. Inside, Batman learns even more about the extent of Rupert Thorne's corruption and his enslavement of Dr. Phosphorus, a man transformed into a walking nuclear reactor due to an illegal, secret experiment funded by Thorne. Batman learns all this through records and security camera footage, fleshing out the events through a conversation with Alfred. The end result is that Dr. Phosphorus has escaped and is hunting Thorne down for revenge. As the player goes to leave the lab, Thorne's fixers arrive to destroy the place, only to find Batman. The player needs to take them all down and then leave. The next level begins when Batman arrives back on Harvey Dent's roof, but only Harvey is there at the time. Batman has already sent over the data to Harvey and Gordon. Dent proclaims that Thorne is more of a monster than he even realized. They shouldn't be playing with kitty gloves anymore. A monster like that needs to be taken down by any means necessary. Batman tries to talk this dark side of Harvey down as Gordon bursts onto the roof. His men have located Rupert Thorne. Batman races to beat Dr. Phosphorus to Thorne's penthouse fortress. The player needs to infiltrate it and take down all the guards before tipping off Thorne so he doesn't escape. Once that's done, and Batman captures Thorne, they are intercepted by a man in a radiation suit. He's clearly a bit out of it as he stumbles out of the elevator, leaving 2 dead guards behind him, but when he sees Thorne, he grows so angry that his skin and eyes begin to glow a bright yellow-green, revealing a black skeleton underneath. Dr. Phosphorus wants to kill Thorne and attempts to rip his suit apart to unleash his power at him, but Batman intervenes and the fight begins. The player will have to dodge Phosphorus's radiation blasts and won't be able to land consistent combos on him either without beginning to take damage. So the player will need to be a bit more strategic and reserved during the fight, while Phosphorus's power grows greater as his suit gets damaged. The key to this fight would be the use of environmental elements and gadgets. Once the fight concludes, Batman does his classic guilt trip on Thorne, blaming him for all of this. Cut to the street, with Thorne being taken into custody by Gordon, and Dr. Phosphorus being handled by a hazmat team. Harvey Dent is there, and he apologizes to Batman for losing his temper, telling him that sometimes he flies off the handle in moments of stress. It's not a side of himself that he likes. Batman forgives him, understanding his friend's intentions, then takes off once more into the night. This next Robin mission is going to be a little bit out there, but it's meant to be fun, so hopefully you get some enjoyment out of it. I wanted Robin to be involved in an off-color criminal mishap, and what better way to do that than connect him with previous minor characters. Robin is on patrol and spots a makeshift bat signal that goes into the air for just a moment before petering out. When Robin investigates, he spots characters from Arkham Origins, Penguin's old henchman Loose Lips, and one of his former assistants, Tracey, fumbling around with a rigged-up spotlight. When Robin asks them what they're up to, they stumble back, unsure of who Robin is. They say they were just trying to contact Batman. Robin asks them what they need from him. We get some backstory on what happened to these characters after Origins. Loose Lips, Tracey, and Candy were all kicked out of Penguin's crew for various reasons. They're trying to turn over a new leaf in Gotham, but Candy has been missing for days now, and they think she's in danger. They didn't want to go to the police, and figured Batman could help. Robin decides to help these bumbling fools, and picks up Candy's trail at her last known location, Noonan's bar. Robin steps inside what is a known criminal hangout, and straight up asks if anyone has seen, Candy. As in, Candy and Tracey? The thugs all laugh at Robin and start attacking him. He takes them all down and interrogates the last one for information. Turns out, Candy had been here earlier that night. She's been frequenting the bar lately, even accidentally leaving a bottle of perfume behind. Robin knocks the thug out and uses his detective vision to track traces of perfume in the air, which leads him into a sewer. Down the rabbit hole the player travels, finding a number of thugs in the sewer system who need to be taken out. Through exposition, Robin learns that this is a new startup gang that's just starting to get a foothold in Gotham. After a bit of traveling, Robin discovers the gang's underground lair, where Candy is laying upon a relaxing Killer Croc's chest. Robin is very confused by what he's seeing, but he knows Croc from Batman's files. He tells Croc to let the lady go. Croc and Candy jolt up. When Croc sees who's confronting him, he grins and tells the kid this is perfect timing. He was just feeling hungry. Robin tells Candy that her friend sent him. Candy sighs and tells Croc to ease up, then tells Robin to tell Loose Lips and Tracey she's not coming back. She's found someone who values her for her talents. She's helping Croc start his own gang, thanks to her experience working under Penguin. Robin says if that's the case, then he needs to bring them both in. Croc laughs and attacks Robin, but Robin gets sneaky. He knows he can't take Croc head on, and instead uses stealth tactics to slowly weaken him. Think the Mr. Freeze Arkham City fight, or Arkham Origins bulked up Bane fight, but in a sewer. The fight ends after the player's done enough damage and Croc starts to rage out. he takes his anger out on the supporting structure, which of course starts the lair crashing down around them. Croc grins, knowing he can escape into the water just fine. Candy asks what she's supposed to do, and Croc tells her he doesn't care. She's replaceable. Then jumps into the water. Robin emerges to rescue Candy, managing to escape from the collapsing lair. Back at Noonan's, Loose Lips and Tracey are waiting, and when Candy sees them, she breaks down crying. Robin watches these misfits embracing each other and talking about never leaving each other again in their new life, and decides to leave them be. Finally, for the last Batman exclusive mission, I wanted to have him deal with just an outright, unhinged plot by a colorful, larger-than-life villain. Who better than a man who has been teased since all the way back in Arkham Asylum, Maxie Zeus. The mission begins when Batman discovers someone who has OD'd in a back alley. Investigation into the body reveals that this was no typical drug overdose. The deceased appears to have suffered from a sudden electric charge that was somehow triggered by too much of whatever drug they were taking. So the player tracks down the dealers, finding multiple pockets of criminals across the city. This doesn't need to be done at once, and instead can be tackled in the open world. Each time Batman interrogates a dealer for more information, he learns more about the effects of the drug, since these dealers are high on their own supply. The drug makes its users highly susceptible to fantastical thinking. The dealers have a reverence for their supplier, deifying him in a way that fits with their unhinged fantasies. They even view Batman with primal awe, more of a fearful sort of worship. After Batman has taken down 3 of these dealers, the intel points him to Gotham City Olympus as the source, a nightclub owned by eccentric millionaire Maxie Zeus. The player makes their way inside the club, discovering an active drug lab in the basement. Batman stealthily takes down all the thugs inside, then destroys machines involved in the production. Once that's over, more of Zeus's goons charge in, and the player needs to take them all down before leaving triumphant. Batman's next step is to confront Maxie at the casino across the street, which he also owns and operates out of. When the player decides to go to a point on the rooftop, that triggers the next mission. Batman is contacted by Alfred. Apparently, the major power plant in Gotham is being attacked by regular citizens. This is a major deal for infrastructure, and from police chatter, it seems they're ready to use lethal force if necessary to stop this. Batman has Alfred call Gordon to let him know to stand down. He'll handle this quickly so no one has to die. When Batman arrives, he notices right away that these people are under the influence of the new drug. In fact, some of them have really embraced their fantastical worldview, going so far as to dress up in togas and refer to themselves as the Children of Zeus. These toga-clad freaks will act as mini-bosses for the player to beat down. Batman is victorious and rushes away from the scene, determined to stop this madness. The next mission begins whenever the player returns to a rooftop opposite the casino. As Batman assesses the best way in, the city block around him goes black. All power is out, except at the casino. Alfred informs him of the scope of the situation, and Batman says he already knows who's behind this, as he infiltrates Maxie Zeus's little slice of heaven. Once inside, Batman finds that the casino is filled with more drug-addled henchmen and Children of Zeus. The casino is this overstimulating collage of colors, sounds, and electricity. From a booth overlooking the casino floor, there are occasional blasts of blue illumination glowing through the glass. Maxie Zeus's voice booms over the loudspeaker, and his followers kneel as he speaks. He knows why Batman is here, to steal the lightning of the gods back from its rightful master. Zeus tells Batman that if he kneels now, repents for his heretical actions, then the merciful god Zeus will show him clemency. Batman is having none of this nonsense, shouting back that if he continues to siphon power from the city, people will die. Zeus sicks his army of followers on Batman, and the player has themselves a ridiculous fight in this colorful casino as Zeus cycles between jubilation at the electricity now in his power, and righteous anger at Batman and the larger citizenry of Gotham, who have never shown the god of gods the respect he's due. As the player continues their fight with the goons, eventually they all come to fear Batman as Hades incarnate. When all is said and done, the player makes their way up to Zeus and finds that he has rigged himself up to a device that channels electricity straight into his body, essentially applying electroshock therapy to himself, and he is loving it. Batman is beyond confused as Maxie monologues at him. Essentially, Maxie used this device he funded the development of to steal back his electricity. The drug was developed similarly, to wake up the citizens to the existence of the god that walks among them. His new worshippers failing to dismantle the power plant was a minor setback, but he will still make Gotham the new seat of Olympus. When Batman goes to take him down, Maxie shoots up, blasting him with electricity and sending him crashing back down onto the casino floor. See, Maxie wasn't just getting his rocks off, he was also charging a custom suit and staff he uses to conduct electricity and wield it as a weapon. The player has to take him down in a good old-fashioned boss brawl, ducking electricity, punching psycho Greek freaks. You can imagine this clash of titans for yourself. When all's said and done, Batman defeats Zeus, power is returned to the surrounding city block, and with access to Zeus's files, Batman shares the means to develop a treatment for the drug to Gordon for distribution. For the final Robin exclusive mission, I wanted to make it drastically different than the others, and really take him out of his comfort zone with an unsettling investigation. The mission begins when Robin goes to check out the commotion coming from a group of citizens protesting in the streets of a lower income neighborhood in Gotham. He overhears their message about a string of kidnappings in the area that no one is doing anything about. The protest is interrupted when a woman comes running over, screaming that her husband was just taken by a shadowy figure. Robin jumps into action. He investigates the kidnapping area, using his detective vision to follow a trail which leads him across town to a desolate, old-fashioned house. Before he can enter, a group of horribly mangled individuals, Frankenstein amalgamations of stitched-together body parts, emerge from the shadows around the building and attack him. These opponents will keep getting up unless they are defeated with a special combat takedown or a ground takedown. Once that's done, Robin is seized by Jack-in-the-Box, who has leapt from the shadows and contorted around Robin, squeezing him unconscious. Robin wakes up in a cell alongside 2 adults and 1 child. The room is dark. A surgical table, rusted with blood, lies right outside of their cage. Robin tries his communicator, but it's being interfered with. He tries to get information from his fellow prisoners, but they are terrified, hollow, and traumatized by whatever they've all already seen. Just then, the Dollmaker enters the room, clad in a blood-soaked lab coat and surgical gloves. Jack-in-the-Box trails behind him. They don't speak as Robin hounds them. They merely proceed with their operation. Dollmaker points to one of the adults, and Jack goes to open the cage. Before Robin can act, he is suddenly grabbed from behind through the bars by previously unseen dolls, who hold him back as the man is taken, begging for help. Dollmaker mutters that he should be grateful. His innards will be used to save others, then he will be immortalized amongst his collection. Once the cage is closed, Robin is released, and Dollmaker and Jack take the man away. Without his utility belt, Robin must figure out a way to escape. There's a latch above that the player is able to reach due to Robin's double jump, which allows the player to break out. Then they have to take down the dolls and free the others. But they're still trapped inside this house of horror. This should be a grotesque setting. Dollmaker is a freak, and there should be failed dolls around every corner. At one point, I hate to tell you this, but there's a stitched-together tapestry of corpses he uses to decorate his home. Yes, this is extreme, and Robin would probably be freaking out if not for his responsibility to protect the man and child with him, especially the kid. After picking his belt up from a table outside the cage, Robin leads the escapees to find a way out. There are 2 rooms he needs to fight through. First one features a stealth challenge, and the second a combat challenge. That final room connects to the exit. He tells the others to run and get help, then turns back and charges forward to save the other man and stop this madness. The player follows the sounds of screaming until they find Dollmaker about to operate on the man, now strapped to a table. Dollmaker sends Jack-in-the-Box at Robin, which results in a mini boss fight. Jack is assisted by a number of remaining dolls, and Jack fights like a more advanced version of the dolls. He's quicker and needs to be hit with 3 special takedowns in order to stay defeated. Once that's handled, the player bashes Dollmaker real good, then frees the man. They exit the house as police swarm the area, and the crowd of protesters have already gathered outside. An officer comes up to talk to Robin about what happened, but Robin can't talk about it. He spots the child, now reunited with his mother in the crowd, then takes off back into the night. With all those character-exclusive missions dealt with, let's move on to the dynamic duo missions, where the player steps into the booties of both Batman and Robin. There's some connective tissue between all three of these missions. They don't necessarily need to be played in this order, but this is the order in which they'll be rolled out across the game. I wanted to play around with different genres and tones with these, kind of homage Batman and Robin stories from throughout the decades. So there's definitely some hints of Golden Age and Silver Age shenanigans, but more so, I wanted to see Batman and Robin developing their relationship. In my opinion, side missions like these are perfect opportunities to further flesh out characters in ways that would have slowed down the pace of the main story. Also, I think I came up with some fun repeating elements for each of these missions that I hope people appreciate. Without further ado, let's get into the first one. The first mission I want to talk about is in the vein of a simple, old-school caper. Batman and Robin in their most Golden Age performance. The dynamic duo are contacted by Alfred, who informs them that a rare coin gallery has just been robbed. They arrive at the scene to find Detective Harvey Bullock, no fan of the Caped Crusader or vigilantes in general. He gives the pair an attitude, but ultimately allows them to investigate the scene. Robin wonders what's so special about these coins, and Batman gives him an idea, revealing to Robin a bit of an affinity for coins, mentioning that his father used to collect them when he was a child. Picking up a trail at the gallery, the investigation leads the pair to a warehouse where a number of clueless thugs are lolling about. The player takes them down and interrogates one. Turns out they were part of the robbery, but they don't have much information on the mastermind behind it, who disappeared with the stolen goods shortly after arriving here. With no leads, the dynamic duo wonders if this is a one-off crime or the start of a pattern. Batman notes that there is an exhibition of rare coins in Gotham this week. His knowledge of that surprises Robin. The second mission becomes available later on. Alfred alerts the pair that the exhibition of rare coins has been interrupted by criminals. Thanks to premeditated security measures set up by Batman, they're aware just as the robbery is beginning this time. Batman and Robin race to the scene where Bullock and his men are setting up a barricade outside. They speak with the detective, who blames them for not catching the crook the last time, but he encourages them to go inside. The player initiates a stealth mission in what is essentially an art gallery of strange coins. Once all the goons are taken down, the mastermind behind it all, the Penny Plunderer, triggers an explosive, sending a giant penny hurtling toward the dynamic duo. They dodge out of the way, and the penny hurtles through the front of the building, out onto the street, where it crashes into Bullock's police car, blowing it up. The Penny Plunderer tries to make his escape out the back with his acquired collection of rare coins, but he's stopped by Batman and Robin. Bullock charges in, cursing all these damn coins under his breath. When he sees that Batman and Robin have nabbed the crook, he takes him into custody. Suddenly, the exhibit curator interrupts them, complaining about the giant penny seared by an explosion and lying in the road. She bemoans that the penny is worthless now. Robin interjects that if that's the case, Batman will take it. The curator looks confused but hopeful. Robin looks to Batman and asks him what his father would think of that coin. Batman smiles, then tells the curator that she'll be compensated. The mission ends, and from here on out, whenever you visit the Batcave, the giant penny is featured prominently. Occasionally, Alfred can be seen cleaning it. If you thought that last one was a little too simple and old school, how about we go on an insane trek through sci-fi with a Silver Age flair? This mission begins when Alfred contacts Batman with some bad news. Murray Hart has died in an accident at his amusement park, Dinosaur Island. Batman takes this news to heart. When he hears that the GCPD are investigating the scene, he feels he should check it out as well and brings Robin along. Turns out, Murray Hart was one of Bruce Wayne's old teachers. He was always fond of the old man, and they kept in touch through the years. Dinosaur Island was a dream of Murray's to start up, an informational amusement park built to educate children about the prehistoric period through entertaining attractions, the most popular of which involved robotic recreations of ancient beasts. When the pair arrive at the park, Robin is awestruck. Batman tells him that it has seen better days. Not many people visited it in recent years after the allure had waned. It becomes clear to Robin that Batman has kept up on his old teacher's passion project. When the pair arrive at the scene, they find Harvey Bullock present. He scoffs at the sight of these heroes, but says his hunch must have been correct. Batman questions what he means, and Bullock tells him not to mess around. If the capes are here, there's gotta be more to the story than the bull the engineer dork has been telling them. Naturally, this piques Batman and Robin's interest, so they get to work investigating the scene. At first glance, it looks like Hart simply fell off an attraction, a robotic stegosaurus, while doing routine maintenance and died from the fall. Batman speaks with Stephen Chase, Hart's partner and the lead engineer who designed all the robots in the park. Batman interrogates him a la the LA Noire style mechanics discussed earlier. It becomes clear Chase doesn't have a high opinion of his deceased partner. When Batman asks him if he suspects foul play, Chase says he doubts it. He questions why anyone would want to sabotage a self-sabotaging man. If it were up to Chase, things would have turned out differently. The park should have been turned into a horror attraction years ago, like he always suggested, not an educational program. Back with Robin, he's working with Bullock to investigate the attraction from where Murray Hart fell. The player discovers through investigating the surrounding robots that the timer on the Stegosaurus had been tampered with, misaligning it from the rest of the attractions, and resulting in Hart being pushed to his death. Only one man could have done that. When Robin and Bullock run over to inform Batman, Chase books it through the amusement park. The player has to pursue him as he activates his robotic creatures for the player to fight and escape from. This is some over-the-top silliness that Batman doesn't have patience for, but Robin can't help but be amused with. These creatures should be a mix. Some of Chase's prototype horror creatures, so they're more humanoid and easier to fight, and of course there'll have to be a fight or two with a big robot dinosaur involving some hacking and quick thinking. When all is said and done, the dynamic duo capture Chase and hand him over to Bullock. The next time the player returns to the Batcave, Alfred will present Bruce with a letter from Murray Hart's lawyer. He's left something to Bruce in his will. His favorite robot from the amusement park. Of all the people in his will, he knows Bruce Wayne can find a spot to put it. Dick insists he knows the perfect place, prominently featuring the iconic T-Rex in the Batcave from here on out. Finally, the last dynamic duo mission before moving on to the post-campaign exclusive missions. We've had some fun with the prior two, a little more lighthearted or silly than perhaps some would like, so I felt this final mission should be more of a dramatic mystery, invoking some elements of a pulpy noir. For this, I'm taking big chunks straight from a 1974 detective comic story called Judgment Day by Archie Goodwin and Howard Chaykin. The mission begins when Batman and Robin get word that a small-time gang of drug dealers have barricaded themselves inside a waste facility with multiple hostages. The dynamic duo arrive on the scene, surveying the situation from the rooftops. Detective Harvey Bullock commands the police perimeter, leading the hostage negotiations through a bullhorn, but the gangsters don't seem very cooperative. The player sneaks in, and this is a classic stealth challenge where they're sweeping the hideout and rescuing the hostages. They come out and alert Bullock, who grows infuriated at their presence. He tells them that he had the situation handled. He doesn't need their help, and neither does Gotham. Batman brushes him off. Bullock shouts after them that the time's coming when Gotham will be rid of all the freaks. Robin asks Batman why Bullock hates them so much, and Batman tells him that it's good to have people wary of their assistance. They aren't perfect, and Detective Bullock is a good cop. Robin shouldn't worry, they couldn't ask for a better critic. The next mission kicks off when Alfred alerts Batman and Robin that the leader of the gang they captured yesterday has been killed while behind bars. They go to investigate at the GCPD, where Gordon allows them to enter despite protests from Bullock, who says for all they know, Batman did this. Gordon tells Bullock he's out of line, and even Bullock seems to recognize that, but he leaves in a huff. Gordon tells Batman there isn't much to see. Literally. Their working theory is that the victim was poisoned. There is a note they found on the victim's body, but it's in Braille. They're looking for someone who can translate. Batman picks up the note and spots poison residue on his gloves. This note was the murder weapon. He reads it for Gordon, and it says 2 words. Sea spray. Gordon asks Batman if that means anything to him, and Batman says that it does. There used to be a luxurious sea spray inn on the waterfront before it went out of business. Batman tells him that the gang they took down was connected to a smuggling operation from there years ago. Someone covering their tracks? Gordon asks. Not this time, Batman responds, taking Robin with him. Batman and Robin race to the inn, which gives them time to talk. Batman explains that this inn was the site of one of his greatest mistakes in his first year. He was investigating a drug smuggling operation with the inn as its front. When he confronted the owner was shot by a masked gunman. Batman pursued the shooter, tackling him in the lobby, but his gun went off and skimmed a young woman's temple, permanently blinding her. The shooter escaped as Batman rushed the woman to the hospital, saving her life. When the player arrives at the inn, Robin points out the Braille, asking how many people could know about that story. He wonders if it's likely one of the cops killed the gangster and left the note just to get in Batman's head. Maybe it was Bullock who was so quick to accuse them. Batman says there's only one way to find out. The player proceeds inside the inn, but the heroes are immediately separated by traps. Batman falls into a basement, once a drug processing lab that has been renovated, while Robin is trapped on the first level. A man holding a gavel, clad in judge's robes with a cloth eye covering, stands above Batman. Court is now in session. Let the prisoners face the judge. Batman has no idea what's going on. He asks if he's the one who killed the gangster. The judge ignores the question, telling him that he dons a mask and carries out the cause of justice, just like Batman. Today, the freaks in the city who act above the law must face justice. This is trial by ordeal. Think of this mission like a series of Riddler puzzles from Arkham City or Night, with more of a justice theme. Each level of the inn is a death trap Batman and Robin need to escape from. There are 5 levels total, although the inn itself is 6 stories tall. More on that in a second. The judge puts Batman and Robin through trial after trial. Each different enough, and for some of them, the pair need to work together remotely. Then the last level is a reunited team effort as the judge grows more furious. The dynamic duo are actually going to fail the last trial through the judge cheating, but they are saved by the intervention of the judge's daughter, the blind woman from Batman's last time here, Melissa. She pleads with her father to stop this insanity, but the judge tells her to be careful. Everywhere but the top floor is filled with active death traps. The player keeps going with the final trap, while the judge and daughter argue. The judge damns Batman, saying that if it hadn't been for him acting above the law, then she'd never have to suffer. Melissa says Batman saved her life. He isn't the one who pulled the trigger. The judge protests. Turns out this is Judge Clay, a real judge in Gotham. He reveals that a warrant to investigate the Sea Spray Inn had come to his desk from a Detective Bullock that same fateful day years ago. Batman didn't need to intervene. Now, he'll get his punishment. When Batman and Robin complete the trial, the judge tells Melissa to run back upstairs and stay put as he makes a run for it, descending down the inn. The player gives chase, ducking triggered traps until they come to a ballroom filled with thugs waiting for a fight. The judge tells them to attack, and the players got themselves a big juicy combat challenge, with the judge also participating, wielding his gavel. When the fight is over, Batman grabs the judge's arm and looks at a scar on his hand. The same scar the man who blinded Melissa had. Judge Clay was involved in the smuggling operation the whole time. He killed the owner of the inn so that he wouldn't reveal the judge was one of his backers. Batman interrogates him on how he killed the gangster today. The judge fesses up that he positioned himself as his lawyer and made sure to give the victim a paper cut with the poison-coated Braille note. He feels it was a poetic way to get Batman's attention, and it was justice to kill a criminal. As they push the judge toward the doorway, he taunts them, saying they'll never escape this inn. Just then, the 3 stumble upon Melissa, dead in the hallway as a result of a trap, unable to stop her father's mad quest for revenge. This shatters the judge, who falls to his knees. Batman and Robin look on in horror. Outside, Robin speaks with Bullock about what went down, while Batman stands off to the side by the water, rolling over the judge's gavel in his hand. Bullock catches this and asks Robin if Batman will be alright. He's never seen him like that. Robin tells him that the mask can't hide everything. Bullock reflects for a beat, then says, "Batman isn't perfect, but I respect how hard he tries to be. He apologizes that Robin had to see what went down tonight, then walks back to his men. Robin goes over to Batman, and they exchange a silent, knowing glance before taking off into the night. From this point onward, the Judge's gavel can be seen on display in the Batcave, a reminder of their relationship to justice and their imperfection. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Endgame. The epilogue missions, the post-campaign content you never knew you'd be craving. If for some insano mode reason you've watched this far into the video and haven't watched my main story video, this is gonna get even more confusing for you. First up, there are two missions here that I already explained sufficiently in that original video. Poison Ivy and Catwoman, so I won't be getting into those at all, but just note they exist. Next up, we have the mandatory simple trackdown and destroy mission. This time, it's with some Intergang paint on it. Now, this is a mission that will be no one's favorite, but it does give the player something to do in Metropolis following the main campaign. And it's the first mission outside of Gotham that Robin is able to do. So, you know the drill. You track down the remaining Intergang weapon caches Batman tagged in the main campaign, but hasn't had the opportunity to destroy yet. You have to fight Intergang with their advanced weaponry who guard each cache, but they're relatively exposed and don't require any massive hideout takedown or anything. Then the player destroys the cache. These missions can be played as either Batman, Robin, or both together. Each time the player destroys a new cache, an unidentifiable element emerges unscathed. The player picks up the dull gems after each cache is destroyed, and then moves on to the next one until all 8 are done. Now, the reason I said this is Robin's first mission in Metropolis is because the completion of this chore-like, repetitive quest unlocks a secret, final side mission. For this last one, I just wanted to do some fun, heart-pounding sci-fi with high stakes and greater DC Universe ties. The mission begins with Batman dropping off all the gems he collected in a container for Superman. He insisted that Superman take a look at the elements using his not-so-secret Fortress of Solitude's technology to see if he can learn anything. Robin asks Batman why they're leaving before meeting Superman. Batman tells him that Superman's at work. Robin looks confused. Superman has a day job? You wouldn't even recognize him, Batman says, and the pair leave the area. Later on, after some gameplay time has elapsed, Batman is alerted by the Batcomputer that someone is accessing the container. Batman contacts Superman and asks if he recognizes the element. Superman responds, barely able to speak and sounding gravely weakened, uttering that he opened the box. Batman asks what's wrong, just as other voices sound in from Superman's end. Superman says, "Who are you?" before his intercom cuts out. Batman rushes Robin to follow quickly, and the player makes a beeline straight to Superman's location. But they're too late. The container is open, its contents are missing, and Superman has been kidnapped. Robin freaks out, asking how that's even possible. Batman is also stunned, but gets deadly serious. The player needs to investigate the scene, reconstructing what exactly happened. The reconstruction reveals when Superman opened the container, he immediately fell to his knees. Soon after, heavily armed Intergang soldiers arrived to take Superman away. Batman concludes that whatever that element was, it had to be harmful to Superman, and Intergang had to have known that. The weapons caches he took down in his initial visit to Metropolis didn't have this element in them. This was a trap from the start. Intergang knew Batman would be returning to finish the job, so they turned that against him as a way to ensnare Superman. This is all Batman's fault. At least, that's how he views it. With some newfound guilt, Batman and Robin take off, following Intergang's trail. This of course leads them to a top-secret Intergang laboratory complex that they must sneak into. Time is of the essence. Once inside, the player discovers Superman held in a cage made out of the same material from the weapons caches. Poking and prodding a restrained Superman is none other than the head scientist for Intergang, Thaddeus Killgrave. Superman demands to know what this element is as the player sneaks deeper inside the facility, overhearing their conversation. Killgrave is overjoyed that he has the Man of Steel in his clutches. He tells Superman that Intergang's off-world contacts call it kryptonite. A moderate amount was gifted to Intergang in order to stop the Kryptonian from further interfering in their plans. Now that he has Superman, he supposes he should kill him, but neither he nor the man at the top, Morgan Edge, feel that's a good use of a unique prisoner. They want to learn what makes Superman tick. Once ready, the player can dual team pick off Intergang soldiers as Batman and Robin throughout this lab, while Killgrave begins some experiments, aka torture, on Superman. Once the lab is cleared out and the player goes to confront Killgrave, a force field emerges around him. He turns and asks the dynamic duo if they thought the genius adapting alien technology for human use would be so easy to take down. The back wall of the laboratory opens up. Dozens of Intergang soldiers emerge alongside those in power suits. Batman and Robin need to take them all down together. Once that's finished, Killgrave has vanished. Batman and Robin set up explosive gel around Superman's cage to free him. Just then, Killgrave emerges in a two-legged robot mech walker thing, taunting Batman and Robin, telling them they'll never defeat his genius. The player is prompted to detonate the explosive gel, and both characters do so simultaneously. As Killgrave gets closer, Superman bursts forth, destroying the legs of Killgrave's mech and bringing it toppling down. Superman hovers above the smoldering wreckage, holding a squirming Killgrave in one hand. "Just 1 second," Superman says to Batman and Robin before zooming through the ceiling. Robin asks where Superman is going, and Batman tells him he's likely dropping Killgrave off with the authorities. He should be back momentarily. Batman and Robin are swept away onto the rooftop of the lab. "Sorry for the change of scenery, but I wanted to get as far away from that kryptonite as possible," Superman says. "You both saved my life. I can't thank you enough. You were at risk because of me," Batman says. "It was the least I could do." Superman turns to Robin. He blames himself for everything. "Nice to meet you, Robin. I've heard great things." About me?" Robin stutters. "Oh man, you're Superman. How are you doing?" "I'm better now thanks to you," Superman smiles. "I wouldn't say that," Batman says. "We just found out you have a weakness. Others know too." "That is troubling," Superman agrees. "I'll need to consult my father's records to see if there's any way to counteract its effects. I'm sure he'll get a kick out of this. My father always enjoys hearing about you too. Reminds him of Kryptonian folk heroes from his youth, Nightwing and Flamebird. The dynamic duo," Superman chuckles. "Sounds a bit too colorful," Batman says. "I like it," Robin disagrees. Superman thanks them for helping once again with the Intergang problem, then flies off, leaving the dynamic duo to leap across the Metropolis skyline once more. From here on out, one of the Kryptonian gems can be spotted in a secure lockbox in the Batcave. And there you have it. Those are the side missions that would be part of Batman Arkham Bonds. 5 Batman exclusive missions, 4 Robin exclusives, 1 that can be done by either, and 4 dynamic duo missions. I feel like that's a good balance. My hope was that I could provide a good mix of characters, situations, and tones to keep everything from feeling samey. I also hope to further flesh out the themes of the main story through these side missions. While they obviously wouldn't be mandatory for any player, I think you can only get the full scope of where Gotham City is at this point in Batman's career through these missions, and I think it allows room to flesh out who Batman and Robin are as characters, as well as their relationship to each other during the earliest days of their partnership. I also wanted an organic way to change the game hub throughout, and what better way to do that than through some side missions which explain the start of all the crazy trophies in the Batcave. I think the Intergang stuff at the end was just a fun way to wrap up some loose ends, bring Superman into the game one more time, and introduce Robin to him, which in retrospect is one step in his long journey to becoming Nightwing. With all that said, please let me know what you thought about these missions. I honestly don't have any idea how people will react to these, although I suspect some will be appreciated more than others. Thank you so much for watching this insanity. I really appreciate it, and take care.